Okay, some of the question I think we already discussed, but in the book it does mention about some of the responsibility, especially for Obama, who entered Congress in 2005. So immediately he encountered some of the things. He went into Congress and learned a lot. So the first question, Wu Yudong, yeah. Can you tell me some of the responsibility for a member of Congress? You can think of our legislators in Taiwan as well. What do they do? Members of Congress. Okay, legislation. Okay, they introduce law. They introduce legislation. Okay, so that's the first one. Lü Peixuan. Dou Qukang. Oh, Lü Peixuan. Okay. Now, what other things do they do? If you look at the, our congressmen, our legislator, members of Congress, what do they do? They went into the Malcolm condo lot, right? Sneak in. That's some of the things they do. No, I'm serious. What do they do? Members of Congress. Okay, already we said they introduced law. And what else? That's it? Or, like in Taiwan, they just appear on talk show. What was it? Some of them do, but can you give me one? What do they do? If we pay them a lot of money, we have to know what are they doing. So can you just mention in the book what did they do? Okay, let's try to look at some of the pages. Maybe you would tell me. Okay, starting from page 18, I think, mentioned some of that. But also, especially page 20, what do they do? Dou Qukang, Zheng Junzhe. Okay, what else do they do? Congressman. First question. Some of the responsibility of a congressman, of a senator, members of Congress.
Check the budget.
Check the budget. Okay, that's a very important. Sometimes they call, watch the purse. Okay. So that's a very important thing, right? Make sure. So budget, that's all very important. Okay. Yeah, what else? Campaigning. Okay. Yeah, they are always campaigning. They do some of the campaign. Otherwise, they will not get elected. Quan Li. He Ziyi. Yeah, what else do they do? Okay, but represent we call here we have a word, okay, This is the word you might have to learn, which is very difficult to pronounce. It's long, but you need to learn this word called constituents. And constituency. Okay, this is the people you serve, you represent them, and then that's the district constituency, 选区. Okay, so you represent that view. I think in the book we also talk about it, so we want to elaborate this one a little bit. Li Zichuan. What happened if you serve a constituents? You say, I'm going to represent their view. But if their views are divided, what do you do? For example, if you represent Penghu, and are you going to support gambling, casino, or not? Okay, because that's after the vote, but before the vote, how do you know? Okay, you have to conduct your own poll and find out. But what happened? If you think you are right and the majority of people in your constituents might be wrong, what do you do? You have to convince them. Okay, so here I think we have a different view of what a congressman or a senator should be. Okay, there are two types. One we call delegates. The other one we call trustees. Delegates are those who believe they should just be reflecting the views of their constituents. Maybe they're working on a poll and find out what do their constituents like more, and then they will vote accordingly. Trustee is different, is she? What do you mean by trustee? What does that mean? 信托, what does that mean? If a congressman or a member of Congress consider herself as a trustee, what does that mean? For example, my wife always liked to send me out to buy some grocery. Okay, and she would say, buy this brand of oyster sauce. You know, the Cantonese love to use oyster sauce. 蚝油. Okay, but she always said, 李锦记蚝油. Okay, so I went out to buy, and I represent her to buy the oyster sauce. And then found out they don't have Li Jingji, but they have others. Okay, so if my wife trusts my judgment, I will buy, something. If she doesn't trust me, then I have to call her. Like, okay, they're running out of Li Jingji. They have this. Which one do you want? So trustee, so you have the confidence. You believe, you have enough ability to judge what's the right thing, what's the right position. So when voters vote for you, they know you are capable of making a decision. They will not question you. So when you vote according to your conscience. You vote according to the information you have at hand. You think it's the best for your constituents. So we have two different types. So that's congressman. Okay. Lin Zhenghao. What else do they do? So they represent their voters, so they cast votes. What else? What do you think they do? Okay, someone said they're always campaigning, but participating in election. What else do they need in election? They have to go on television. They have to maybe buy some commercial. Where do they get the money? You say, oh, out of their own pocket, right?
Parties? From the parties.
From the party. Oh, I'm sorry. Some very few party will just give you money. Okay. Yes, sometimes, but most of the time you have to raise the money yourself. So most of the congressmen, especially congressmen, not senator. Senator 6-year terms. Congressman only 2 years. So, right after you win the election, you begin to raise money for the next election. So you have to go to, like fundraising activities. So that's a very important part of a member of the Congress. They're constantly raising money. Now, you say, wait a second, why don't they do something else? Why are they just raising money? 游志全、刘义章、庄子成。Okay, now they are raising. Why don't they wait until by the election time they will raise money? Then people feel, oh, you have an election, you have to spend money. I will donate you money. Why do they have to raise money so early, so advanced? But okay, raise money, yes, but if I declare I'm a candidate, like for next year's election, I'll go and let me ask you one question. If nobody know you, why would they donate money to you? First of all, are you going to win the election? If you're not going to win, if you have a chance of 0.1%, why should I spend money on you? So first of all, you have to be well known. If you have your own money, you might spend some money, buy some commercial, and then you have what we call name recognition. Okay? Name recognition is very important in election. So sometimes that's the reason we have people who are already a celebrity. When they run, people know about their names, like Arnold, right? So those are the ones. But for people we call, last week we talked a little bit about incumbent. I think incumbent, people who are in position. The book talk about incumbent as well. So we want to find out how much you know about incumbent. 郑立伟、李雄豪、宋维达、古文佳。What is an incumbent? Like this university, okay, is going to have a new president, I think. But now you have an incumbent president who didn't get the confirmation vote. Am I right? Your current president, university president, didn't get the confirmation vote. Come on, Tsinghua student, you're so scared. I mean, is this the case this year? 好像什么？好像结束了。好像有什么？好像有听说。Wait a second, this is something in the university that says, oh, 好像有听说。It cares about you, right? Okay, someone who are in position now, we call incumbent. The one who challenge, try to become, the next president or the next congressman, the next senator, the challengers. So incumbent, the one who already, like the current congressman, legislator, okay, they raise money for one reason. They said, if I raise enough money, so people look at my, they call war chest. War chest. It's like you're fighting a war. You bring out a chest, a box. You have so much weapons there. People say, oh, he has so much ammunitions. Probably I cannot challenge him. So you can use the fundraising to scare your opponent. Okay? Once you raise enough, people say, I cannot do it. I cannot challenge. So fundraising is a very important part of the congressman or member of Congress daily life. Okay. Earlier we talked about representing the view, but sometimes all politics is local. Okay, this is a very famous quote. All politics is local. 张文轩、杨东彦、范家载。Okay, what do we mean by all politics is local? Start from the very local area. What does that mean, really? In Taiwan, it means you go to the funeral, you go to the wedding. Okay. All politics is local means you have to take of those people who vote for you. So you cannot just forget them. You just say, well, right now I'm a congressman. I participate. I'm serving on the Foreign Relations Committee. I only care about Taiwan's relation with European Union. So I only talk to people, visitors from Europe and everything. And you don't take care of your constituents. Next time, they will vote for a local county, assemblyman, 县议员, to defeat the high, recognized name, but does not take care of the constituents, the local people. So all politics is local, meaning you have to serve your voters, constituents. So here, I think we want to mention something. Well, in the U.S., I don't think they go to so many funerals. But sometimes you are touched by those people who show up in your relative's funeral. You say, well, next time I'm going to vote for her. Next time I'm going to vote for him. Look, so and so busy, but they show up in my parents, my father's funeral. Such a great recognition of our sorrow. So that's very important. But in the U.S., they help people, especially some of the people who need to get assistance, like welfare. Some people have trouble understanding, like we have the flood victims right now. So the congressman should set up the office and try to send their assistance to the flood area and help those people. That's what we call constituents services. Very important. They also help people. For example, some constituents said, veterans, they got certain problems roaming, returning from Iraq. So you try to help them to say, what kind of needs, what are some of the things you can apply for. So those are we call constituent services. Very important. Introducing legislation, that's also important. Budget, right? And then campaigning, fundraising. So it's a very busy job. And by the way, they have this kind of transparency. They have to show their income. So you're not going to get rich to become a senator or congressman. Then the question is, why are they doing it? In Taiwan, like, if you're not going to make money, why are you running for this office? Why are you running for the office? If you don't get rich, Yang Daifeng. Yeah. Why people enter politics? If they don't want to get rich, I mean, like this is so natural. You enter politics, you have some power, and if you don't get rich yourself, you help your friends who are like, oh, let's develop this new area, right? But we won't tell anybody else. There's going to be a highway going through here, and you can purchase the land first. Okay, those we call very inappropriate thing. You cannot do. So why are you going to politics? Help people. Yes. You think people are so nice? They just want. I just want to help people. Okay, maybe they are. There are all kinds of ways to help people, right? But why being a congressman, going through all this hectic of raising money? Obama mentioned in his book, right? When he was running for election, he think of all those people who can give him some donation. He doesn't have enough. So which means you have to go to, we call the fat cat. Oh, remember that name? Fat cat. What is a fat cat? Garfield. Right? A fat cat is a Garfield. What does that mean? You familiar with Garfield? Okay. Remember, Garfield's most important saying is, when you are fat, stand among those who are fatter than you. Then you look thinner. Okay? So that's Garfield's very great advice. But fat cat means people who have a deep pocket can donate a lot of money. But once they give you money, you are almost being their servants, right? You have to serve them. So it's difficult. Sometimes people say you need to raise money from individual small donors, so then you will not be held hostage by the fat cat. But to raise all those money like Obama did last year, donating on internet. But in Taiwan, like, why are we donating small amount of money, which we are not going to buy any influence? You want to donate, you want to buy influence, right? But Americans sometimes are stupid. They just say, hey, this is a nice guy. He has some nice idea. Maybe we should encourage him. So they donate some money. I have one student before in Alaska. She donated money to a Green Party candidate. Okay, $400, I remember at the time, 20 years ago, US dollar. Okay, and knowing that candidate is not going to win, right? Green Party candidate in the US is not going to win, but you people still donate. Okay, so that's the people. But those who enter politics, okay, in addition to everything, some people said they enter politics for clapping, for applause, for approval. Okay, I'm not sure whether that's the case, but I think you feel good. If you are a county magistrate, you are a legislator, people probably will show respect. Especially if you are in 立法院, right? Legislative yuan, people salute to you, right? So you feel good, okay, in Taiwan. Okay, 林敬琪. So we know what the people do. But in the first chapter, they also talk about a lot of disagreement between Republicans and Democrats. So can anyone give me one? 林敬琪, give me one disagreement. There are many, so just give me one. There are so many issues dividing the two parties. What is it? Tax. I think we have consensus. Nobody wants tax, right? But so what's the difference between Democrats and Republicans on tax? The Democratic Party really like tax. They campaign. They say we're going to raise tax. We love tax. Do you think they can win the election?
No.
No. Okay. So what's the difference then?
Raise tax and can do some social work.
Okay. But let me ask you, how many people are going to say, well, I'm going to vote for this party because this party will raise my tax and provide some social services. I don't know whether they will be able to do it, but they will tax me first. Right? But I think there's a little bit difference here. The Democratic Party also sometimes they also talk about tax cut. I mean, how can they have tax cut if they want to provide social service? I think you have a very good point, saying Democratic Party more supportive of social services, of social welfare. So you need to raise tax in order to provide for them. But sometimes they also cut taxes. Why?
They say they can, if they reduce tax, and they can put more money to buy other things.
Well, that's all very Republican as well, right? Republican always say, the Democratic Party doesn't trust you. We trust you, that we know you know how to use your own money. The Democratic Party thinks the government knows better, but we trust you. Wow, yeah, you trust me, I'll vote for you, right? But the Democratic Party Democratic Party is saying, yeah, we have to raise tax, but that tax is about the rich people. We need to cut tax on the middle class. Okay, that's us in Taiwan. In Taiwan, most people pay tax on the salary earner, right? The fat cat, they don't pay tax. Okay, they have all kinds of tax break. So tax is an issue. Okay, Lin Boyu. Any other issues?
Get married.
Gay marriage. Okay. What's the difference?
Democratic Party support gay marriage, but Republican doesn't.
Okay. So the Democratic Party are the party of happiness. So they support gay, happy marriage, and the Republican only support, a bitter marriage. No? You understand gay marriage? Okay. Anyone else who do not understand gay marriage? Okay. Do not make the same mistake as one of my friend did, singing a hymn song called "Amazing Grace." What is Amazing Grace? Is that the song's name? 妙语葛丽丝 Have you heard of Amazing Grace? 奇异恩典 Okay, grace is 恩典 God's grace. Okay, but grace is also a name. So it's a little bit like gay, so don't get confused. Okay, Amazing Grace, 奇异恩典 But you can also talk about, wow, this girl called Grace, so amazing. Okay, 无子和 What else? Issues dividing the two. Iraq? Okay. Well, I'm not sure that's always true because when President Bush declared war, tried to send forces, I think he got a lot of senators, Democratic senators, to support his decision, including Hillary Clinton, right? Including Joe Biden, the vice president of Obama. They all support Iran. Okay, Obama is the one who did not. Okay, so yes, there were some differences of support, I think. Okay, so Iraq, some problem there, but not the biggest issue. It becomes more important now. 额马龙，郑洁之 Yeah. What other issues? Abortion. Okay. Remember, don't use that. Use pro-choice and pro-life. Okay. 张登明 刘应在那边。刘应成。Okay. What other issues divided to?
我觉得他们几乎就是他书里面提到有很多点，然后他说有时候就是议会开始的时候，就是有时候就是为了这个。
Yeah, but hey, Democratic Party boycotted Republican, reprised and boycotted the Democratic Party. I think he mentioned both sides are guilty of that. When you are in a minority, you feel you're abused. But when you are a majority, you say, hey, it's time for me to abuse the other party, right? So I think he said both parties are guilty of that. But I want the differences.
可是我是觉得他们基本的观念就不同，他们觉得美国的繁荣就是像奥巴马，他是觉得就是要全部的人一起。
Oh, that's the whole democratic theory, right? We mentioned from Cuomo, Mario Cuomo, the New York governor. I showed you last week, and then from Obama talking. Okay, so I think it's what we call maybe the inclusiveness of the Democratic Party, right? In terms of helping, the less advantaged people, taking care of that. Okay, 谢依晨. Yeah. What else? Foreign policy. Gun control. Okay, I think usually, the Republicans are very supportive of the right to bear arms. So people say, the right to bear arms, we already have that in Taiwan. Look, we can bear our arms. Right? What do you mean by bear arms? Is that what we call bear arms? To bear your arms, to show, to reveal your arms? Or it should be this bear? I think they pronounce the same, right? What do we call? Hanuman? Huh? Hominin? Homophone. Okay. Okay. Arms is weapons. Okay. But when you do this, you have to show both arms. Okay. I did that about 2 months ago when I took the shot for yellow fever and then for some kind of neurologic disease. 2 shots on each side of my arm. Bare arms. Okay. So gun control. But some of the Democrats in those Western states support right to bear arms. Okay? In the Western states, like if you grow up in Wyoming, I think all the kids are shooting, and they shoot duck. That's a very important, we call in English literature they call initiation. Anybody understand? Okay, I'll have to ask the English student here. Lin Yuhan, what is initiation? What do you mean by initiation? In literature, like kids growing up and then they learn about the adults, the complication, the complexity of adult life. Have you ever read stories about that in Hemingway or all those short stories? That's what we call initiation. It means, this is the adult world. Okay, initiation. I don't know. How do we translate that into Chinese?
启蒙.
Qimeng? Is that how in the English literature? I think they have a special term, initiation. So the same thing with Western kids growing up in Nebraska, in Wyoming, in Montana, using gun is very important. Shooting squirrel. I don't know whether some animal lovers might not be able to tolerate that, but shooting squirrel, shooting ducks, that's hunting, duck hunting is very important. So bearing arms, not just the Republican issue, but if you're a Democrat, you're from those states, you probably will also support. So, but majority, it's a, Republican. 卓杰，对的吗？ Okay, what else? Separate the two. Education. Now, Republicans say education is a bad thing for you. So don't go to school. Really? The Republican Party don't want you to go to school? Do not trust the school at all? Now what's the difference? Okay, the Republican didn't agree public education. Now, public education is compulsory, right? If you cannot afford, if you can afford, you go to the private school. But why would Republicans do not agree with public education? What's wrong with public education? Well, first of all, they think public education, public school, do not teach enough of value, of moral. Okay? So they feel if they go to the public school, sometimes when the school do not discipline kids enough, you are sending your kids to be polluted by other kids. So that's one way of seeing that. They also think the public school teachers, because they are under the unions, jobs are protected, they do not work as hard. Okay, so there are some stereotypical view of Republican Party on the public school, and especially some of the conservative Republicans do not like to see the textbook of the public school that will, cover like the history in a different fashion. For example, I think the textbook will not be very kind to George Bush. Okay, so I think Republican Party, but more importantly, in terms of education, Republicans believe that if the kids go to private school, they can get we call school voucher. Saying you spent this much money to educate a kid. Why don't you just give that money to me? I'll send my kids to a private school. I'm not sure how much do you think will take to educate a elementary school kid in Taiwan? The cost of educating an elementary school kid in Taiwan. Well, they're just first grader. Okay, how much do you think? 30,000. Okay, if that's the case for 1 year, why don't we just get that money for ourselves? I educate my son at home. Or I send him to the private school. I trust that more. Okay, but what happened right now is most of the time the Democratic Party said, we have an education system. You can send your kids here, but if you don't, if you go to the private school, that's your business, and we're not going to subsidize you. We're not going to give you that, especially if that school also teach religion. The Republicans want the kids to learn religion in school. Some of the Democrats do not think that's the case. Okay. Han Yiming. What other things? So we have tax, we have pro-choice, we have education, we have Iraq. Yes? What is? federation. Okay, the view of government, right? The federation. The Democratic Party believe a much stronger central government, and the Republican Party think everything should be, going back to the state government. More and more things, because the state government knows better. The local government, the municipal government. I'll give you one example. The United States did not have a ministry, or we call Department of Education, until 1977. All the education is decided by local. No federal department on education. This is impossible for Taiwan, right? I mean, like 教育部, where's our 教育部? The same problem, France will never accept that. Japan will not accept that. But United States, for the first 200 years, no federal department on education. Okay. For the first 180 years, no federal department on healthcare, on health issues. Okay. So only in the last 50 years they began to add more and more. Okay. Finally, 李涵妮有在吗？谢君达 Yeah. Can you give me one more so we can move on?
Healthcare system.
Healthcare. Okay. So what's the difference between Republican and Democratic Party? Republican Party said we don't need healthcare. The Democratic Party said we need healthcare. Is that? Oh, everybody needs healthcare. I mean, you think Republicans are healthier, so they don't need healthcare?
Because they have, but healthcare means the government needs to spend more money.
Okay, they don't want national healthcare. Okay, you said if you want to have healthcare, if you want to have insurance, you can buy private one. Okay, tailor-made for you, maybe more suitable for you. National healthcare, they call socialized medicine. Okay, so that's almost like everyone has to buy. So they don't want this national healthcare, but they want a private one. Okay, in Taiwan, what do you think? We all love our national health care?
Except the doctor.
Except the doctors. Okay, that's the reason. Most doctors went into plastic surgery, right? Instead of doing, the surgery or being a pediatrician or internal medicine, they all went into some people say the skin. Taking care of the skin right now is very popular. So, okay, we have enough on this. So, challenges. I think the book talk about challenges. 萧富腾，有在吗？洪冠荣。Yeah. What are some of the challenges in the book? Mentioned in the book. What issues? Depression? But wait a second. This book was written in 2005. Yeah, in this book, what did Obama said about some of the major challenges? Tax is always there, but I think he emphasized others. What are the other issues? Well, the same issue, he won the Nobel Prize. Gosh. What was one of the issues he won the Nobel Prize for? First of all, do you know he actually won the Nobel Peace Prize? Okay, you know that. But he won the Nobel Prize because they just felt that they loved his slogan, "Yes, we can. Yes, we can." So he won. But what are some of the reasons given by the Nobel Prize Committee?
Because the South had all the peace.
Okay, but
Each of the points.
so yes, that's one. Okay, so in terms of challenge, I think he did mention about Iraq, about international terrorism. That's a challenge. I think he did mention international terrorism. Okay, that's a U.S. challenge. But Obama, still, U.S. is fighting two wars. Granting peace prize to a president who is fighting a two war. That's very unusual. Okay, 艾尔强，王博全。What else? What other challenges? In addition to international terrorism? Facing the United States. And this is, I think, has something to do with this chapter and with the next chapter on value as well. He didn't use that word, but it's there. I call it the polarization of the American politics. Okay, of the American polity, P-O-L-I-T-Y. Okay, 美国政体 polarized, right? Republican versus Democrats, all the issues involved. Okay, let's take a short break here, and we'll come back. Okay, I want to ask this question first. There are some questions here. Someone cannot hear me, so I'm going to use this one. Chen Yiping. Okay, now, remember in the book, he talked to some older senators and he asked what's the difference, why they are polarizing, right? Remember earlier we said, the challenge is because they're polarizing. Now, here, what's the difference between 50 years ago when Republicans and Democrats actually can work together, but not anymore? And then it says it's generational. What does that mean? Well, because those people were older, but they were younger as well, right? 50 years ago. And it's very difficult for sometimes for people to look at those congressmen and senators 50 years ago or 30 years, 40 years ago. They were very polite to each other. When in American Senate, when you address someone, you have to say, the honorable senior senator from the state of, I do not agree with, the honorable senator or something. So very polite, very casual. But why suddenly, in politics they become very, lots of so much infighting now? What did the book say? Did you read that part at all? No? Anyone who read that part about the generational yet?
This is that at that time we had kind of politics issues were involved, so we have to get together. So they have a common point.
Okay, at least a lot of them went to World War II. Okay, 50 years ago. So they had a common experiences. That's the reason they felt the country was under threat before, so they can work together. But then you have the 60s, right? Remember Li An's movie coming up, the Woodstock? Okay, so what are some of the problems in the 60s? So there are a lot of problems here in the 60s. Name some of them. Lincoln E. Yeah, can you name one of the movement in the 60s? Okay, I'll give you a clue. We call the second invasion of America by Great Britain. Yes?
The Beatles?
The Beatles. Never heard of the Beatles. But I think we translate it so beautifully. 披头士. The Beatles. 披头士. Right? Why the second invasion of Great Britain?
Maybe because they were so famous in the United States.
Yeah, but why second time? Well, where was the first invasion? Okay, the first invasion of Great Britain is in 1812 during the Napoleon War. Okay, Great Britain invaded the U.S. actually attacked Washington area. Okay, and the president at that time, Madison, has to flee the city. So that was the first invasion. The second invasion, I think, was Beatles, and the third invasion, Elton John. I'm not sure. I'm not following pop culture right now. So, but Beatles, okay. So 60, you have the hippies, right? So that's one movement. But hippie was also part of the bigger movement against what? Against Vietnam War, and also the young people. They do not trust anyone over 30. Over 30 cannot be trusted. Bad people, okay? So you have a anti-war movement, but out of the anti-war movement, we have a president who was born in that time. Obama was born in 1960, but he mentioned about other movement as well. Part of that, Wang Shun. Yeah, what other movement in the 60s? In fact, in America, I learned American history. You have one course called 1960s. Like people who went through that decade of 1960 are so proud of themselves. Like they have a unique experience nobody had. So what? In addition to anti-war, Vietnam War, hippies. If you don't know all this, please go back to watch Forrest Gump. Have you heard of that movie? 阿甘正传. Tom Hanks. Okay, please go back to watch that movie. That will help you to understand what happened in the 60s. Everything. Okay. But what was the other things? I have a dream. Have you heard of this? I have a dream. That free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. What is that? Martin Luther King. What was the movement? Racial movement. I don't think we call racial. There is a Black Panther, but what's the overall theme we call? What do they want? Civil rights. Okay, so we have a civil rights movement of 60. We have, okay, the grassroots anti-war movement. We have hippies. We have anti-establishment, basically. Okay. You have to remember, this anti-establishment is not just in the United States. 60s, you have student protests also in France. You have student protests in Mexico. 60s, you also have the Little Red Guards. in China, the Cultural Revolution. So it's a turbulent decade. And in addition to civil rights earlier student mentioned about being a racial issue, but there are more. In addition to that, we also have 和新家. What other movement? Women are coming out of the kitchen saying we're no longer homemakers. They want equal rights. So what kind of movement? I don't think we call women's movement. There is another term. Feminist. Okay, feminist movement. They wanted to have equal rights, and almost in 1972 they actually got a constitutional amendment introduced saying men and women are equal. Of course, everything people can accept except one. So maybe we should ask a lady here. Lin Yuhan. Now, do you want to be exactly equal with men? Do we need to specify 男女平等 in our constitution? What do you think? You don't want it. Why not? Hey, you inherit the same wealth from your father, right? Right now, in Taiwan, girls and daughters and sons are equal. Isn't that good? You don't want that. You say, oh no, I don't deserve. I don't carry my family's name. Why would people, women, say, no, thank you. We don't want this equal rights amendment. This ERA. In Taiwan, people say, oh, ERA, 年代电视台, yeah. Right? Equal Right Amendment era. But what is it? I mean, why would women, especially conservative women in America, do not want an equal rights amendment? Okay, try 谢新平, 谢吉平还是什么? 星星, 好 ，OK。你的平我就要念平，来，加了草就要念平。OK， 谢新平，So what's the difference? Why the women themselves do not want equal rights? It's not men. There are a lot of women who do not want equal rights. Okay, first of all, if you are equal, do you want to go to the military service? You don't. I thought we have that kind of movie in Taiwan before about, women going to Chen Gongling or something. No? Okay. So equal right means equal responsibility, equal obligation. Okay. But that's the only thing. What else? What other things that you reply the male citizen to? You said, if we are equal with men, which means then we have to live 5 years less, right? Because we live 5 years longer than men. So if we equal, we have to cut down our ages. No, I don't think they will require you to cut down your ages. In Taiwan, I think women live to 81, and men only 76. But what other things separate the two, men and women? Just in Taiwan, military service. What else? Any kind of civil service exam that discriminate men or discriminate women. 有没有公务员考试、国家考试是有限制性别的？ only in advertisement, some company always say, secretary, 女性, 现女性. So, if I'm equal, then, men can compete for my job, right? Okay. And men, if you're equal with men, then you have the same, what do we call, maternal leave as men. 产假跟男性一样。你的男性没有生，但是他看着你生，他也很累，他也 right? So he also needs that. But I think the conservative America felt, especially women who have this biblical view of the role of women in the family, they felt this amendment will change, will, what do we call, sabotage the family value, that all women will want to go out and be equal. So they don't want that. So ERA in United States as a constitutional amendment, 宪法修正, 7 years, in the very first few years, 35 states passed. Okay, state assembly passed, and they need 3/4 to approve out of the 50 states. So do some math for me, Xu Wenjing. 50 states, 3/4 states approve, then it passed. How many states do we need?
Everything.
36? Hey, this is Tsinghua University. 3/4, how many states? Lao师，我没算过这种不整数的。150 divided by 4, 75 divided by 2, 37.5, right? So 38 states. How about that? So 35 passed in the first 2 years. You only need 3. Cannot get those 3 states. Okay, I went to the U.S. in 78. I also helped call, state legislators saying, you need to call, like Oklahoma, saying there might be a possibility. So you have to say, hey, so senator, state senator, so and so, we're supporting ERA. You have to vote, and they didn't even extend it for another 3 years. Failed. So it's not there. But that was the feminist movement in the United States. Okay, so we have the student movement, we have the anti-war, we have the hippie, we have the civil rights, all those movements, and added up in the late 60s, especially in 1968, a terrible thing happened. 吕义生. 1968, Nixon won the election. Okay, also because what happened in 1968, there were 2 political figures got assassinated. You know who those 2 are? Who are those 2 political figures assassinated in 1968? Okay, coming. You have to. Yes? I think President Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. Okay, we're talking about 1968. But you are right. It's another Kennedy. His brother. His brother was a presidential candidate, right? And he got assassinated. Who else got assassinated? Some 台湾竹联邦某某第5堂的堂主 right? No, who else? I have a dream. I have a dream. Martin Luther King. Okay, so those 2. So what do you see? In 1968, you have 2 very important political figures. One is the leader of the civil rights movement. One is the presidential candidate who is likely to win the Democratic Party nomination. Okay, was assassinated. And then you have all kinds of anti-war movement, and in 1968, Democratic National Convention, the one you saw Mario Cuomo address to the crowd, you saw Obama address to the crowd in 2004. But in 1968, most of the fundamentalists, the hardcore Democrats, they were very much anti-war. But Bobby Kennedy, their candidate, assassinated. So the Democratic Party chose the Vice President, Hubert Humphrey, as the candidate. So the party convention was so split and so violent in Chicago, all kinds of protests. Now, I think Obama mentioned that. Now, looking at all this, suddenly Nixon, the Republican candidate, said, "We want law and order." Some people say maybe a lot of excesses, too much, huh? The violence, the chaotic situation in the 1960s, according to Yao Yao, 太超过，杀很大，杀很大，太超过了 right? So that's why from the 60s, you have a party that is more responsive to the concern of the middle class, of the working class who still hold values, work ethics, all that began to change. So we have to change from the 1960s on. And then especially in 1980, this is where Obama said why he understood the appeal of Ronald Reagan, a Republican. 刘清燕有在吗？ Okay. First of all, Ronald Reagan is a Republican. Obama is a Democrat. Ronald Reagan was a governor from California before, a president in 1980, very conservative, and Obama considered to be a liberal. Yet somehow Obama was not, while he didn't approve his policy, he said, "I understood his appeal." Okay, this appeal is different from the appeal of our former president who appealed to the United States. 那个上诉不是上诉啊，是什么 ？appeal 是什么？ So and so has. So, by the way, prove me wrong. The other day I asked my NCCU student, I thought young people, all of you like the guy who is going to play the sidekick of the Hornet, 清风侠的助手叫什么？谁要演？周杰伦。结果我浙大学生跟我说，他们不喜欢周杰伦。你们 you don't like his appeal at all? What do you mean by appeal? Appeal sometimes. What is an appeal? Charm, attraction. Okay, so his attraction or his 诉求，他的吸引力或他的诉求。Okay, somehow. So Obama could understand Reagan. Why? All those Republicans in the 70s said, "Look at the hippie, 太超过, right?" And especially, they also introduced a lot of the drugs in the 60s. If you never inhale, how can you be, a product of the 1960s? So lots of problem. Obama said, "I understood the appeal because somehow that appeal was what? For order, for stability, for a different approach of politics." And he won the election. because of the chaotics. Even though Nixon was the one who later lost the election was forced to resign in Watergate, but Republicans still represent the party of order, the party of conservatism, the party of values. And somehow the 60s, you lost all that. And then people began to polarize. Okay, so that's the big problem between the two parties. Okay. The second chapters, I think there are a few more questions I want to ask you. First question, I think we can definitely ask. Lin Yiming. Now, are the Americans become more different or more similar than before? If you look at the beginning of America, right? Mostly wasp. Remember wasp? What is a wasp? A phone, right? What is wasp? W-A-S-P. Y-N antique 古老的 Anglo Saxon. Okay, now it's almost like what? White, Asian, Slavic. No, Y Anglo-Saxon, P, what is P? Protestants, okay, the Christians. So, but with the addition of waves and waves of immigrants, okay, bring to America different culture, different values, different holidays. Okay, I can tell you one thing. The Chinese New Year is celebrated in Chinatown in New York more so than in Taiwan. I went to the Chinatown before Chinese New Year. I mean, the kind of things they prepare, the dragon, the lion dance, they are more serious. Okay, so there are a lot of these individual cultures brought into the United States. And United States originally think they were a new country represented by the new immigrants. You have freedom of religion and other things, but basically it's WASP. But gradually you have Catholics coming, the German Catholics, the Irish Catholic, and later by the end of the 19th century you have the Mexicans, you have the Italian, East Europeans. So religiously, ethnically, they become more diverse. So America divide a new term,一个火锅的 term. So what is that? 潘怡安. Yeah, what is that term? They said we are mixed together, and that thing, it's a little bit like, have you ever been to the Mongolian barbecue? What is Mongolian barbecue? You pick everything, you just mix them, and then that's Mongolian barbecue. What is it? Melting pot. What is melting pot? 大熔炉. Okay, let me put it this way. Melting pot, I don't think Mongolian barbecue is a good description. Melting pot is really that you cannot separate the ingredients. So what would be a dish that somehow it's in there but you cannot tell? Can you think of something that you can taste that? 芝麻核桃糊. Okay, I think, kind of, sorry, I don't think you know 芝麻核桃糊. Okay, it's the sesame and the walnut. What do we call? Some kind of mixed together, and some kind of jelly. No, it's not jelly, but something. Okay, so that's melting pot. And that later in the 1960s, they said, well, each individual group They have their identity, but even though they're part of the United States, so they maintain their differences. So a new term. So from melting pot in the 1960s, they said we call cultural pluralism. Okay, means different culture added to the United States. So it becomes richer with different backgrounds and everything. So that's why I think we want to raise this question. Is America becoming more diverse, more different, or more similar than before? So going back to you, Amy, more similar or more different? More different. Even with the name, like you would never expect with the first name Barack can become a president, right? It has to be used to be William, George, John. Those are good names to become president, right? But now Barack, and when you read it together, it's Barack Obama. Barack Obama, very strange name. Osama bin Laden. By the way, the conservative in America, the talk show, they call him Osama Obama. Okay, but anyway, but on the other hand, why the American Asians, American-born Taiwanese or Chinese in Taiwan, you take a look, you say he's from the U.S. And somehow black from Africa and black from the U.S., you can tell the difference. Why? Well, I mean, there is something about America that people say, oh, you're from America. So are they more similar? Especially wearing a baseball hat? They all eat the fatty, unhealthy, McDonald's, or even worse, Max Burger, or Burger King, and the portion is always bigger. So are they more similar or more different? They all watch the same baseball game. Fantasy baseball, right? Facebook. Are they more similar or are they more different? I mean, maybe physically I think they are more different. But within that difference, you somehow can tell. So I think this is an interesting question. But if they are different, according to Obama, there are still some core values they hold in common. So what are these core values? First of all, let's try Taiwan. Guo Daoru. What kind of core value do we have in Taiwan? Get rich. Right? For ladies, 嫁入豪门. What kind of core value have you learned so far in Taiwan? What is it? I mean, give me just one. I mean, I know it's difficult, but at least give us one. You understand core value? 核心价值. Okay, what is it?高学历. Okay, so believe in education. Okay, I don't think it's maybe believe in education is the key to everything. Okay, I think that's good. But why don't we try the American core values? 尤清燕. Yeah. Oh, I asked you already. Okay. Li Anyi. Yeah. Give me an American core value. Dreams. I had a lot of dreams. Remember, I told you before, in my dream, I dunked over Kobe Bryant. Okay? I don't know why I can dunk, you know. In reality, I used to be able to touch the rim, I'll be very happy. Now if I can touch the basket, I will be very happy. You know, last time when I played basketball, I remember we jumped together with my, opponent, the other team, and then somehow I fall first. He's still in the air. He has longer hanging power. But that's a dream. I'm still having that dream. Maybe I'll dunk over. Maybe I'll do some Michael Jordan shot. When you dunk and then someone try to block you, you change to your left hand, right? Okay. So dreams, okay. Or I think why don't we put it as this word, optimism? Believe there's some possibility in the future. Okay. Wang Weijie. Yeah. What's the core value here? In America, as mentioned by Obama. Obama is trying to say, we, in spite of all the differences, we actually share something. So we are the same people. Right? So what is it? What is a core value? Okay, let me ask you, what will be your first impression when people talk about American? Ugly American, no. There's a book called Ugly American, but Okay, so freedom, liberty, and平等, equality. Okay, everyone, I think in the book, again, he quote the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, right? So that's one. Freedom, very important in America. So here, I think he is trying to say, both Republicans and Democrats believe in freedom. Republicans believe in what kind of freedom? That you can keep your own guns. That's freedom. That's my liberty. But the Democrats believe the freedom of being left alone, privacy. But you are believing in the same freedom, but just in different areas. Okay, Republicans want the freedom to be able to compete. So they do not like government to intervene in their in their economic activities. But the Democrats said, I don't want government to tell me what to do in my private life. But they both are holding the same value, freedom. Okay, so that's a very important thing. Core value. What's the other ones do we have? Chen Ying Ru, Yi Wanqing. Chen Ying Ru. Okay. What are other core values? Moral value. Okay, let me ask you, do we find a group of people who do not have moral value? I think everyone say, I have some moral value, right? But can you be more specific? What kind of moral value? 道德. Okay, I think, have you heard one particular group or nation said, we don't care about moral. But there's something we can say, some society emphasize a little bit more. some society emphasize less, so we can talk about it. But I think morality, yes, both emphasize, but then within the Republican, they probably think the Democrats are pretty immoral, right? But when we talk about moral as a core value, share, can you give me another one? Share value. We talk about liberty in a different perspective. It's a shared value. Equality also in a different perspective, because there are some problems before. But what are others? Sometimes when we talk about Americans, the biggest difference between Americans and, let's say, Chinese in general will be what? They prefer beef, we prefer pork. They prefer coffee, we prefer tea. Okay, I'll give you this. Sometimes we think, like my son, okay, just call me, say, hey, Dad, I got engaged. I said, oh, okay. Why don't you check with me first? He said, I'm afraid you might, reveal this, this, I secretly planned my proposal. So then after he proposed, he called me. But in Taiwan, I don't think the parents can accept this. So the parents said, but hey, you have to consider all the in-laws, all the relatives. What would they say? What would your grandma say? You didn't tell your grandma first? So what's the different value here? Yeah, but what? Basically, it's individual versus what? I think we call collective or communal thing, 集体的、家族的 versus 个人主义, right? America, I think, we cannot deny it is a very individualist society. That's good in some aspect, but bad in some other aspect. In Asian society, we consider the family, we consider the in-laws also part of it. So those are, again, the value they share, individualism. But here, I think we want to look at some of the problem here. So here you do have this opposing value. If you have individualism, you also have communalism. Communalism means community first versus individual first. So for example, in Taiwan, sometimes we say we are a communal society. But look at our apartments. Inside each apartment is very good. But look at the stairways. And outside the apartment, people say, that's not part of it, that's not inside, so we don't care. 有没有这个问题？台湾有啊。住的公寓里头，大家哇，好亮啊，都 remodel, just remodel, refurnish, look good. But then outside the apartment, gradually we're doing the new things. What do we call in Taiwan? We call 拉皮。最近很多房子流行拉皮。Do you know that one? Like outside, okay. But before we didn't pay attention. But in America, communalism, it's not a big issue. They, very individual. So you have to balance the two. Autonomy versus solidarity. Autonomy means I'm by myself. I will, be independent. But are you going to work together with other people? Okay, so that's another. Collective security versus civil liberty. So, civil liberty means what? I'm free, I can do whatever I want, but if that infringe upon the rights of others, would that be a problem? Like, the overall security. For example, I want to raise certain kind of animals in my farms, or maybe endangered species, or those. So versus collective security, and then freedom of speech versus pornography. Should we protect those? America emphasized a lot on freedom of speech. Yet Obama was very balancing here. What did he say about freedom of speech on television? Of course you have, we call, in Taiwan, I think we will not, the pornography will not be shown in regular TV, right? But we have a lot of things I think we should not show on television. All those shopping stations, selling you bra, those type of things. Sometimes I think those should not be there. But what did Obama said about watching football game with his girls? 简英哲有在吗？陈孝轩简英哲 Okay. Did you read that part about Obama? Okay. Anyone? Yeah? Yeah, a lot of Viagra type of, come out, and people say, well, this is the reason all this football player, right? Because they have Viagra, maybe.
Yes.
But they look strong, okay? So, but do you want that on television? So, but that's freedom of speech. So you have to balance the two. I think some of the value here. Merit pay and distributive justice. Okay. So, 何尚荣 费罗安 你在吗？ Okay. Now, what do you know merit pay? What is merit pay?
It's kind of a pay that you deserve.
You deserve? Okay, based on your performance. Okay, but distributive justice means we know there are differences, but there has to be some kind of justice in there. So, for example, fat cat in Taiwan recently has been accused a lot. And people say, oh, there are some good fat cat. Okay, now the problem is there are also some bad fat cat. Fat cat, people who make more money, that's fine, because they might have better, higher, performance. They have, stronger, performance. But are they going to make 10 times, 20 times more than I do? So where is that line? We call distributive justice. For example, my wife always believed dentists should make more. She said, I cannot just look at a person's mouth with all this germs coming out of the teeth and everything. She said, of course they should get more. Okay, but should the dentist make, like, say, $3 million a month based on the merit? Probably not. Okay, so there is a distributive justice. They might make $300,000 a month. I think I can still accept that. Some people may think more, but still. So that's where we call merit pay. America believes in merit pay. Persons, individual do good should be rewarded accordingly. Yeah, but sometimes don't you think they got awarded a little bit more than they deserve? So we have to look at it. We call distributive justice. This is not equality. We're not talking about equality. We're talking about different pay, but everyone feel it's right. Okay, of course everybody want to make more, but I think deep inside your heart, a president of the university should make more than a professor. But sometimes we have some professor make more than the president of the university. Okay, that's the other story. Okay, see you next week. Try to finish 3 and 4 next week. Okay, we're trying to catch up